Welcome to the Contract Tech Showcase. In each episode, your host Flo Nicolas and a guest panelist will try out the latest contract tech products.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's episodes of the Contract Tech Showcase. My name is Flo Nicolas, aka non-boring lawyer, contract tech queen, and also the Chief Growth and Community Officer at How to Contract. So the Contract Tech Showcase is a brand new streaming series from contract training leader How to Contract. It's a straightforward, practical look at tech that is changing the contract landscape. In this episode, and in each episode going forward, we're going to be featuring different contract technology tools. We have the company come on the show, they tell us about the tool, and then my co-host and I have the opportunity to ask questions. We want to save you time and provide an entertaining way to learn about the latest, the hottest, and the greatest contract tech tools. For today's episode, I'm really excited. I'm super thrilled to have Eversort, also known as the Contract Intelligent Platform. And sharing more about Eversort is our guest Navin Mahavijiyan, and also known as the Dark Lord of Contracts, the Legal Operations Witcher, the Contract Caesar, Legal Documentation Death Knight, and now currently the Director of Client Solutions, and Product Enablement at Eversort. So thank you for joining us today, Navin.
Thank you, Flo.
And for my guest co-host, I'm super excited because not only is he a friend, but he's also a legal tech influencer. And today I have a guest co-host, and that is Colin Levy. So thank you for joining me today, Colin.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you.
So, you know what? We're going to dive right in. Colin, if you can just briefly tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to kick it off and have Navin go ahead and dive in and tell us about the Eversort product and why it's one of the hottest tools on the market.
Well, thank you. So just brief about me, I am a corporate lawyer, legal tech evangelist, legal change agent, and legal tech writer and speaker. Can't get enough of legal tech, and I am all about contracts, considering most of my lawyer career has been focused on contracts. So I'm really excited to be a co-host in particular for this session.
Thank you, Colin, and thank you for joining us. And now, Navin, you have so many titles. I think I read probably like 5 or 6. So let's start off with how you came about with the titles. That's number one. And then we can go ahead and jump into the Eversort tool.
Oh, awesome. So the titles just come from the fact that I am a huge nerd. So, I love comic books, I love movies, I love Lord of the Rings. Some people know me as a collector of swords as well. And so a lot of my titles stem from that. And I just think that, contracts don't always have to be this serious, boring business where we're concerned about metadata and clauses and, PDFs. Yes, those things are important, but I've always found contracts to be really interesting and fun and the work of them. And now with technology, we can just do so much more as well.
And you did a fantastic job at picking out some really hot titles for yourself. So, but let's go ahead and dive in because I'm really excited for our audience to learn more about what Eversort has to offer in terms of really being beneficial to the contracting community.
Fantastic. All right. I am going to share my screen, Flo, and you will see. And I promise this is not going to be a 15-minute slideshow. I just wanted to give everyone a nice broad overview of the contracts intelligence platform that is Eversort. So Eversort is a no-code tool with AI at its core that allows you to manage the end-to-end contract lifecycle from beginning to end through both workflow and managing your post-signature contracts as well. I think that a lot of different legal teams really struggle with understanding what's in their contracts. We've all been there, those Monday morning calls where we need to pull all of the contracts with a termination for convenience clause, or we need to pull all the contracts that are about to expire in the next 12 months. And sometimes it's easy if you've been tracking it, but if you have not been doing that in Excel or in a system, it's a lot of work. And so Eversort uses its proprietary AI to pull all that information out of your contracts in the blink of an eye. And we're also a workflow platform that allows you to automate the generation of contracts, tracking of approvals, all the way through e-signatures as well. So it's an incredibly powerful end-to-end tool. For today, I'm going to be speaking a lot about our AI capabilities, how that feeds into reporting, and how you can have access to thousands of contracts at your fingertips in an instant. And with that, I'm going to just log right into the system. So Eversort is incredibly easy to use, and you can get your documents into the system in a variety of ways. You can link out of the box with existing cloud-based tools like Box, G Drive, SharePoint, and all manner of other tools as well. Or you can just manually upload documents. So I've been a little cheeky and I created a non-boring contracts folder, and I've uploaded 2 documents already this morning. But all you really need to do to upload documents is select them and put them into your system. And I'm going to do this anyway because I do think it's really cool to show everyone just how quickly Eversort can actually ingest your contracts and analyze them. So I'm going to upload those 2 documents. And there's a reason why this says Trixie in the document name, which you'll see in a second. And so I've uploaded 2 documents. Boom, Eversort has already analyzed both of these PDFs. And they're basically a standard service agreement with a company called Accelerate that we use for demonstration purposes. But I created a Trixie version. I'll keep that in mind because I'm going to come back to that for a little bit of an inside joke as well. As you can see, the contracts basically analyzed within seconds. That's how powerful the AI actually is. It doesn't take hours. It doesn't take an overnight. It just gets done. But what this now allows you to do is get a full 360-degree view of your contract. And you can choose to basically assess your individual contracts in a variety of ways. You can jump straight into an overview panel, which provides a nice high-level snapshot of general information about the contracts, operational information like when it expires, when it renews, is it an automatic renewal, so on and so forth, renewal notice periods. All of this is being pulled and answered by our AI. It doesn't just extract specific clauses, but it understands the clause and can tell you the answers to most common questions when it comes to contracts. Again, you have liability information as well, but I'm going to jump to the Contents tab, which is my favorite place to work. From here, you can look at a fully digitized version of your contract in full text as well. If you want, you can look at the PDF version. There's not a lot you can do with this, but it's a purely visual preference, and I generally recommend that people stick with the text because of all the cool things you can do with it. But as you can see, Eversort automatically identifies a ton of different provisions right out of the box instantly. In fact, we identify over 60 different contract clauses and data points within a contract, expiration dates, effective dates, force majeure, and I can quickly jump around to those specific clauses in my contract, like force majeure. If you quickly want to see what the governing law is, you can read that clause in a snap. So it's Control F on 50 different kinds of steroids. But what's more important is you can actually jump straight into the key information as well. For example, Eversort is intelligent enough, or rather, Eversort's core AI is intelligent enough to answer the question, what is the governing law for this contract? It's California law. You don't need to read that clause. It does more than just identify language. It understands meaning, and it can tell you what the governing law clause will say. So that's what's cool about Eversort. What's also interesting is that it's incredibly easy for you, the user, to program. And what I mean is this: if you're looking for a clause that isn't one of our 60 different data points that come with Eversort as a default for all our clients. You can basically create your own. And it's as simple as finding the clause you want. So I'm going to look for Privacy Shield. Now, this is something that Eversort doesn't search for out of the box. You can program it to do so, and it's super easy to do. In fact, if anyone wants to weigh in comments on LinkedIn, please, or let me know if you want Eversort to look for specific kinds of clauses. Let us know in the comments below as well. But let me show you how easy it is for you to just say, hey, my chief operating officer or my compliance officer wants to know how many contracts have Privacy Shield language in them. All I have to do is find one contract with that language, highlight it, click the little pencil that appears and say tag provision. And I can call it whatever I want. I'm just going to call it Privacy Shield. And I can apply that tag to all of my documents. So in just 1 second, if I know what I'm looking for, I can tell Eversort to look for this across hundreds, thousands, even 1 million documents if I want to. And then all I have to do is hit save. And that was it. It's been successfully created. It'll get applied to every single other document in my repository. Here's where it gets really interesting. And before I leave this screen, I'll just show you the key provisions tab as well. This will just pull out a nice summary of the contract, the different bits of language that attorneys normally want to look at. And you can just read through your contract and jump to specific clauses without having to go through it. And so that's why I feel Eversort gives you that 360-degree view of your individual documents. And that's before we get into things like Analyzer and dashboards as well. But before I do that, I want to show you how cool the AI really is, because I did something that people don't normally do, but I tried to trick the AI. So I went into the same contract and I amended it. So I went to the data breach clause and I removed all references to breach, to data, just to see if Eversort's AI could identify it. So, I won't make you read through the language. It's up on screen if you really want to, but I removed all references to data and I replaced it with dealership content as a defined term. I removed all references to breach. I talked about security incidents and security events to see if I could confuse the AI and trick it. I could not, which I think is really incredible, because imagine yourself having to pull up data breach clauses in your contracts. Yes, you could control F to find specific words, but if someone wrote a clause like this, you would have to read through the entire contract, find that clause, and then interpret it. Eversort can do that in seconds, and it actually understands that this is a data breach clause and has highlighted it as such. So that, I think, is the one takeaway. And we really pride ourselves on running these demos live as well. And so, please take on what I call the day zero guarantee. If you ever try to demo Eversort with anyone from Eversort, bring your own contracts, bring one of your own contract that have been executed, bring your counterparty paper as well, because it's easy to use first party paper because it's very standardized. It all looks the same. Bring some of your vendors' contracts along with you that Eversort can scan and ingest in real time and show you what the data in those contracts are. And it will just take seconds. So, well, what's interesting is now, what can you do with all of this information? You've got Eversort. It's pulled out a ton of exciting content from your contracts in just seconds. Well, you can do a couple of cool things. Something that people that I've worked with throughout the years always want are alerts. So imagine being able to set up all manner of alerts where there's a new contract that's been executed that doesn't have my preferred governing law. And I want Joe in legal to get an email daily, weekly, monthly. You can control all of that, how often the reports go out, how frequently, to whom, and for what. So you can notify people if there's a new type of contract, if it's a contract that has a term of less than 1 year, if a contract has termination for convenience, you can just create a variety of alerts at the click of a few buttons, and it's there forever. And you get that constant view of what's happening with your contracts. You also have a really wonderful expirations tracker within the tool as well to quickly give you a view of what contracts are expiring in the next 12 months, which ones auto renew. A lot of my friends in procurement love something like this, where you can quickly take action to cancel a contract that's going to auto renew in a couple of days. And of course, with those alerts combined with a dashboard like this, you can quickly act to manage contract renewals, contract expirations, whether that's to make sure you don't lose revenue on a contract that's about to expire, or that you don't wind up paying for the next 1 year because you forgot to send, an auto renewal cancellation as well. Finally, and this is for the Excel fiends out there, because I know that everyone, well, I won't say everyone, but a lot of us aren't big fans of Excel just because it's a little unwieldy, but it's a really powerful tool, and you can download all of your metadata or filter it down in a variety of ways. So, Eversort's analyzer is incredibly easy to use. You can search for anything. You can choose a variety of different filters. For example, contracts with an effective date of before or after a specific date, and just pull those out. But I'm going to show you one filter that I like to use, to the termination for convenience filter. This will just pull every single contract with the termination for convenience clause. And I can just run that search immediately, and I can expand my search results. It pulled 178 documents from this repository that have a termination for convenience clause. And if I scroll down, it'll also highlight the specific language that contains your termination for convenience, levers, how it can get done, what the notice requirement is, so on and so forth. And of course, you have your handy dandy export to Excel button as well. So you can pull all this reporting data into Excel, and you can do some other cool things with it. We've built a ton of Power BI dashboards that are available to all of our clients that will give you a nice, great looking dashboard to view your contracts as well. And for those of you that use Power BI, I know that this is pretty awesome. You can click around and look at specific different contract types as well. Or you can also import this data into the tool of your choice if you prefer to use Tableau. Because you can export into Excel, it's basically up to you how you want to design charts, but Eversort does come with all these dashboards pre-built for you. And more importantly, and if you can see in my background as well, we've got, on the 9th of November, our Future of Contracting conference as well. And during the conference, we will be launching our brand new dashboarding functionality that will be available from within Eversort. So what that will do is it will transform Eversort into a full dashboarding analytics tool without you having to do anything. So all a legal or procurement team has to do is bring us your contracts, and Eversort will do the rest. It will analyze them, it will understand them, it'll extract information, and it'll put it out onto sexy dashboards for you as well. So definitely, if you're interested, if you want to check out what new and exciting things we have coming, join us for the conference as well. You can sign up from our website. And if you can't find it, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will make sure that you get an invite as well. And so I do want to mention before I close out on this, is that Eversort, because it is an AI-based tool and it understands meaning, there's not a lot that you have to do. It just works out of the box. Yes, you can train your own custom provisions, and that's incredibly easy to do. Anyone can do it. You don't even have to be a lawyer. You just need some examples of language, and you can train it yourself. And it is incredibly accurate, as you've seen with how I tried to trick the system as well. So that's a lot of fun. But Eversort also has a workflow functionality, and I wish that we did have more time. Maybe there's a part two in our future as well. But Eversort does have an incredible workflow tool that you can use to just automate your entire contracts functionality, automatically generate contracts, create agreements, send them for execution, and then write back into your Eversort repository as well.
Thank you very much. That was great. Really great to see that that wonderful overview. And now it's time for the fun part where Flo and I get to pepper you with questions
Yes.
about the platform.
I am here for it.
Great. So I know that one question that I'm sure many potential customers have all the time is around security, in terms of the security of the data, the security of the platform. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how Eversort addresses those types of concerns.
Mhm. No, that's a really great question, Colin. And so Eversort is a cloud-based platform. And so we're built on the back of Amazon Web Services, AWS as well. So, we have industry-leading security, encryption, and all those great things that I think our clients and legal teams around the world have come to expect. Uh, what I will also say is that we don't typically do on-premise installations. It's not something that we believe is an effective way to manage contracts any longer. But that being said, if you have a massive on-prem installation, I'd love to chat with you about how that can be done as well.
And Navin, speaking about, AI, that comes up a lot. And you and I are friends on LinkedIn, so I see your posts, which are quite entertaining. But, here's the truth of the matter. A lot of legal terms are being thrown out that are a little bit confusing to people, right? So it's like AI, but then there's code and there's no code. So just like in the simplest fashion, like for someone who's watching and they're like, oh my God, all this stuff sounds really cool, but wait a minute, what is AI again? Can you just give like a little brief rundown of what is AI and how is it really making it easier for attorneys and procurement or any legal specialists doing work with contracts?
No, I love the way you phrase that question, Flo, because I think to me it's always about not defining AI, but what we call AI can do for us as attorneys. And so, what I would say is that on the market today, you will see two different kinds of contract analytics tool that we call AI. One is an automated search, and that can be really powerful. The AI is programmed to look for certain words, and you can continue to manually refine that search. Again, data within 5 words of reach. But because it's automated, it can still be an incredibly useful tool. And then you have AI that has what we call machine learning. And that's really what you saw me do today, where instead of me trying to code the AI myself and say, I'm looking for clauses with this combination of words and this combination of synonyms as well, what I can do is I can show the AI what I'm looking for, and the AI will basically understand that language and teach itself to find similar clauses. And so that's the kind of AI that Eversort does. It is not the cool sci-fi AI that I wish it was. It's not going to bring me coffee. It doesn't, wake up one day and say, Navin, I think that you might be looking for data breach clauses today and send me an email. Who knows what the future may hold. But that, I think, is the big differentiator between the two tiers of AI that you see in the marketplace today. One is an automated search, which can be great. And then one is essentially a machine learning based tool that can search for meaning and understand context and language. It's a proto attorney, if you will, where it can understand and think the way all of us on this call would read a clause and kind of understand what it means. Does it get everything 100% right 100% of the time? Of course not. And I would argue people don't either, but it's an incredibly accurate tool. And in fact, we're really confident in saying our accuracy rate is well over 95%.
Wow, that's pretty high. Colin, do you have any other questions for Navin?
I do have another question, which is something I often think about and write about, which is, finding a tool is great, but setting it up, getting it implemented can be a challenge. So I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to what does that piece look like in terms of timing and cost, and then sort of a related question would be, once someone is up and running, and assuming that their business continues to grow and build, can Eversort grow with the business? So two questions in one there.
Yes, I see you trying to trip me up, Colin. These are actually great questions, and it's one of the reasons why I really love Eversort, and I've recommended it to a lot of people that I work with even before joining the organization. And that's that Eversort is incredibly easy to implement, with a caveat, of course, that every organization is different, but Eversort can be implemented in as little as 19 days. And I did not buy that when I first heard it. In fact, our CEO, Jerry Ting, and I had a conversation about how quickly Eversort can be implemented. And when he told me 90 days, 19 days, I kind of went, really? Is that true? But the truth is, Eversort can go live in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It really depends on your use case. But because of its out-of-the-box integration with most common file storage solutions, you can quickly pull all of your contracts, whether that's hundreds or thousands of contracts, and have them analyzed almost overnight. So you can go live very, very quickly with Eversort. The workflow building piece of it is very dependent on how you want to build your workflows, of course. And so a workflow can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. I think a lot of legal teams can benefit from a lot more simplicity, but I think that piece is where you get a range. But our common implementation takes about a month. In fact, at Eversort, I now head up what we call our proof of value program. And so that's where you can sign on to Eversort for a 2-year contract with a 30-day out. And we will implement Eversort in less than a month and give you time to actually test it out, use it, work with the reporting. And if you're not happy, you can cancel at the end of 30 days. And so that's how quickly we can actually implement. I will say, obviously, if you're a large, multinational conglomerate with a lot of complexity and a lot of custom interfaces, that can take a lot of time. If you have custom integrations with homegrown solutions, homegrown procurement tools that you've built on your own, that can definitely be, a bit messier and can take longer. But the core functionality of Eversort, you can have it up and running in a snap, essentially. And on to your second question, Colin, as far as, and now I've forgotten, what was your second question, Colin?
Scalability.
Yes, exactly.
The question of scalability, I think, is incredibly important, because we work with clients that just upload several hundred documents all the way to well over 1 million documents. We work with a large banking client that actually has over 1 million different contracts getting uploaded into Eversort. So Eversort is very, very scalable. If you have 1 million contracts, we can handle it. If you have 2 million contracts, I think let's talk over a couple of drinks, because you clearly need to vent a little bit. But essentially, there's no real cap on the volume of contracts that you can upload into Eversort, or at least I haven't seen one just yet.
Yeah, and that was something that I was going to ask if there was a cap, but that's good to know that there is no cap. But I wanted to go back to just talking about the repository, and it's really interesting to me that Eversort is starting to incorporate the ability to pretty much use data analytics and the Power BI. Are you seeing from your end that the need for data and just the overview of leveraging data analytics for contract management? Are you seeing that as an increase in demand from legal teams in terms of data analytics?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because I when I think about contracts data, there's really 2 tiers and 2 types of users for data. Getting the information out of your contracts is really just the first step. You have those power users, data scientists, that can take a raw Excel file and work wonders with it, and it just makes sense to them. Kind of like Neo in the Matrix, where you can just see what's going on through all that code. But you also have a lot of leadership team members, GCs, COOs, CEOs, that want to understand the information and data in their contracts, and they need dashboards. They need easy to use dashboards, easy to understand dashboards. And we really believe that functionality needs to be out of the box. It's not something where we extract the data and you figure out the rest. And that's why we're working to make Eversort that one-stop shop. And that's a great need. I've worked with GCs over the last couple of years where, they have a CLM system or a repository system, and they have all this information, but they can't interpret it. They can't understand it because they're not data scientists, and they're incredibly busy people. They don't have the time to figure this out. And so having quick, easy to use dashboards that you can pull up with the click of a button is incredibly powerful. And I would argue every single vendor needs to be doing this. And if they're not, they're behind the curve.
Yeah. And going back to what you were saying before about, just the ability to have, if you have 2 million contracts, for example, then, let's talk over drinks. So overall, are you able to customize the system? Because as you mentioned, every business is going to be different, and their contract volume is going to be different, and also
Yeah.
their contract needs are going to be different. So is this something that I can customize and saying, hey, you guys have this, but I don't need this, but what I really need is ABC? Are you able to work with clients to customize Eversort to meet their contract needs?
Absolutely. One of the great things about Eversort and what makes it so easy to implement is its no code aspect, right? You can just pull up the system and start using it the same way you would start using Microsoft Outlook. There's no massive implementation. We're not building the software for you. It's pre-built and it's done. That being said, you can customize it in a variety of cool ways. From the repository aspect, ultimately, it lives and dies based on the information you decide to pull. And while Eversort does have over 60 different data points, there might be several data points that you want to pull. And so you can customize that information. And then once you have that info and those data points pulled by our AI, you can then push them into dashboards, the analyzer, so on and so forth, and build alerts around it. On the workflow side, the workflow tool is incredibly powerful as well. So you have a lot of options as to how you build and how you want to handle your business as usual contracts, whether that's a bunch of third-party paper, automating who it goes to. You can heavily customize that. And it's incredibly easy to do. In fact, part of our implementation is that we train our clients how to build workflows on their own. And we help them if they want us to as well. But finally, Eversort is very, very integratable, either through custom integrations or an API with a variety of popular procurement systems. Everyone asks for Salesforce. Of course, we can integrate with Salesforce, and you can use that data within Salesforce and push from Salesforce into Eversort as well, which is, I think something everyone always wants and needs. So it is very customizable in how you use it. But at the same time, the fact that it just works out of the box and is incredibly standardized and easy to implement and use is incredibly powerful. So we don't custom build a UI for specific clients. But that being said, I also really love to hear feedback from people on what a great UI might look like, and we can evolve that product and probably will over the coming years as well.
Yeah. And we're trying to, make sure we capture everything. So I'm going to kick it off to Colin and make sure that I didn't leave any questions out. Do you have any, one last question for Navin?
I guess one last question would be, what for you is sort of the most compelling feature you think of the platform?
Ooh. Well,
That's a good one. That's a good
that is a good one, and I kind of don't want to be cliche.
Well, let me throw something with that question. So not just for you, but what are you also seeing as the most, like the customer's most favorite, so your favorite feature and what you're seeing from the customer end as the favorite features?
All right. Well, I guess what I'll say is I'll start with myself. Definitely my favorite feature is the AI. I think when I look at Eversort, I see that it's built around that AI and how the AI actually fuels everything else. And I've been really, really impressed with how accurate and easy to use it actually is. I've used a variety of AI tools over the year, many of them pretty good as well in their own right. But Eversort's AI is definitely the best that I have seen on the market. And that's what I really enjoy. I'm a bit of a cheeky guy, so you can see I like to trick the AI and see if it can catch up to me. And so that's been a lot of fun to really play around with. I think as far as clients go, they love dashboarding. I think the clients that have seen, the new dashboarding functionality, they're super excited about it. And the ones that use our Power BI dashboards really, really love it because, you will get that power user client that really enjoys training the AI and just identifying specific clauses. And there are those for sure. But overwhelmingly, it's that dashboard because it's, the tool accesses all of this information, but then you can present it to people in an easy to digest way. And that's where the biggest use case for our clients when it comes to our contract management solution.
Now, so, I was talking to someone just so we're getting near the close of the show, but someone said to me, not everything can be all, smell like roses. So are there things that you could point out, or I don't know, we don't have to call like a long list, but is there something that from an Eversort standpoint that you feel like, we still have some work to do in this section of our tool? Or is it really just that perfect?
Oh, no, that's a great question, and I'll be perfectly transparent as well. So I think a couple of things that are important to us, and I do think we need to work on is, we're continuing to refine our workflow tool. I really believe that while the workflow tool is incredibly powerful in its own right, and you can design a lot of different contract workflows, we're continuing to refine it and make it more and more user friendly, both from a builder perspective and a user perspective. So, while it's great, I do think it can be fantastic. And I 100% believe we'll be there in the next couple of months. And so that's one piece. The other piece is I did say over 95%. And I do know that some clients do need 100% for specific types of clauses as well. And so, we do work to refine those results, sometimes with partner firms as well, to individually manually review those contracts. So for example, if a scan document just isn't the best, there's only so much an AI can do to pull up an expiration date because the guy that signed it manually wrote the date in the worst possible way. Yeah. So it just cannot OCR, and then the AI cannot tell you what the end date or the effective date of the contract is. So for a client that does want that to be 100% accurate, your basic use case for AI, it does not need to be 100% accurate, but zooming in and reviewing those clauses manually is something that we've also done a couple of times with a variety of partner firms that we work with as well. And so that can be incredibly important, and there is a solution to that as well.
Yeah. So what's the takeaway here? So we're going to do the round table of takeaway. So we'll start with you, Navin, and then we'll go to Colin, and I'll close out the show. So why Eversort? Out of all the over 100 tools that are on the market, someone who's watching today, why Eversort?
Why Eversort? Well, so I think the one thing is, and this is something my colleague and friend Meme Onwudiwe loves to say, is that it works on day zero. So if it doesn't work on day zero, it doesn't work on day one, is something that we started saying. And I think that's what I really love about Eversort. It's really easy to implement. You can start using it in just a couple of weeks, and it's worth trying out just for that. And again, because I had the proof of value program here, you can try out Eversort with minimal risk because you can cancel in 30 days. And I don't think a lot of vendors are willing to do that in today's market because of just how difficult it is to actually implement a usable system. And aside from that, I just think it's really cool to have an AI that can actually read thousands of contracts. It's perhaps not something everybody gets excited about, but I know that, I'm the poster boy for doing everything the wrong way. When I started my career at, oil and gas back when I was at Petronas, we used to manually read through contracts to find a lot of information. I had to sit in filing room cabinets and pull up hundreds of contracts and read them. And just to be able to use a tool that just gets everything out in a snap. And I can still QC some of it if I want to, and if I feel the need to. But I think just that is incredibly powerful. And you don't have to wait. This is not a 18-month cycle before you can start using the tool. You can pick it up and start using it in just a couple of days.
And Colin, what's your takeaway of the Eversort tool from this lovely showcase that we had from Navin?
I'd say for me, it was kind of the simplicity of use. That's something that appeals to me, and I often think that sort of the simpler something is in terms of getting up to speed and using it, the more that more quickly is likely to be adopted and used. So that for me was the key takeaway.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So here's my takeaway as I close out the show is that, like Navin said, you worked at a job where you had to review hundreds of contracts, manually do it, and that's never exciting. And I've been in a similar situation as well when I worked in telecom. Every project called for you to review manually hundreds of contracts, and it could literally take like a couple of weeks. So, simplicity is the way to go. And having a tool like the Eversort tool where you can upload contracts in your database and be able to have information spit out to you that you need, termination rights, renewal information, and get key alerts to let you know when it's time to renew. Or maybe there's another key alert in your contract, a condition that you need to meet, and having that alert kick off and get sent right to you, it's a no-brainer. It's, why take weeks and months to do something that can be manually, well, not manually done, but it could be automated, Forget the manual, go to the automation, right? It makes sense. I'm all about simplification versus complication. And just with the showcase today for the Eversort repository tool, it makes sense. It makes sense to want to simplify things. So if you want to learn more about the Eversort product and how you can integrate and implement it into your day-to-day contract needs, then you heard it from Navin. You can contact him directly. You can schedule a more personalized one-on-one meeting. And he said, bring your contracts, right? That's the key here. Bring your contracts and you can see how it works, so, you don't have to worry about, is this all just, smoke and no fire? No, bring your contracts and they'll be able to show you how it works. So be sure to contact Eversort. You can go to the website and you can also contact Navin directly. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can't miss him. So definitely check out Eversort and Navin. And stay tuned for another episode that will be coming soon. Make sure that you hit subscribe to the How to Contract YouTube channel so you can pretty much stay in the know when new episodes get dropped. So you don't want to miss out all this good information that is coming your way. And listen, I'm going to continue showcasing the hottest products that are on the market that are helping the contracting community. So thank you for watching today.